This is Dylan from Noble Records coming at you guys with another video, and tonight we have the psychedelic experience with Matt Sands and the psych professor Sam, and I'm so excited. I just got to say, the first YouTube video I ever saw on records was you guys' videos.
Well, you have far surpassed us in viewership, sir.
But the thing is there would be no me without you, because the videos, I'm telling you. So the first channel I really got hooked on, and even now, like when I see you guys, it pops up as a notification that that you guys have posted a new video. My heart skips a beat. I'm so
well, quality over quantity as of late, man.
Oh, not even quality anymore.
I'm gonna do a whatever's messed. I think so. The problem now is Matt's computer's messed up or something. So I'm gonna do a GoFundMe to get Matt a new computer.
Do it.
I seriously thought about it. Man, I'm watching this. If you're in, hit me, slide into my DMs, let me know. So we have. We'll go ahead and get cracking. So this video is not an hour long. We're gonna show 10 records each that every Psych collector should have. This is gonna be like records that a lot of you may already have, or if you're just getting into Psych, you may not have. So this is some stuff. Most of the stuff in my stack isn't more costly than about $20. So easy to find stuff, fairly simple to find, nothing too obscure, nothing too expensive. And we tried to follow some guidelines as well. So I'll get started.
Yeah.
First one.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to let you go real quick. I fell asleep on my couch earlier and didn't have time to get my records. So while you two are talking right now, I'm going to go get them.
And I'm going to, again, be the middle ground there and say, you'll notice that most of my records come from the first third of the alphabet, because my list started getting too big and I was like, oh man, I don't have time to do this. And so I'm an idea man. Execution, obviously, I guess not my thing.
Well, I literally was running out the door and I went through, I have a Psych section. I literally went through it and grabbed 10 out and just bolted. So I didn't put much thought into this, but this is some stuff that are seminal albums, in my opinion, that were pretty easy for me to find when I was starting out. So this one, Ultimate Spinach, you could get these about $20. They are, just an excellent Psych album, early 70s, just one that a lot of people tend to look for, but it's got some great keys work, some great guitar work, and it's great stuff. Matt, me up back there.
Oh man! Oh wait,
I didn't even fix them yet.
That is a must-have. Ballad of the Hip Death Goddess. Yeah, they have 3 records. I think the first one's the best, but just again, a lot of this is about starting a great collection. I think all 3 of us have addressed this in different ways, but if you're getting in, you can get in fairly affordably for your first year before it gets crazy. So as of late, Dylan, you've of course been showing just stuff that's nuts, which of course I'm envious, but you've been in for a while. So this is one, if you are buying your first copy of this record and you pay more than $12, you've done it wrong. But you got to have a little bit of cheap thrills. Great San Francisco rock, of course, Janis Joplin on vocals there. Cover art by the great cartoonist Robert Crumb, also a sort of counterculture figure from the San Francisco scene. But Ball and Chain is my favorite track on this one, but it's all really good. I think there's overdubs, but it was recorded live at one of the big San Francisco venues of the time. And so for me, it's a killer starter record. And some variants of it are super rare. There's a mono that's super, super rare, but you pick up any one in a bin, again, $5 to $12, you're right on for it.
So, all right. I went with Sgt Pepper. This was the easiest Beatles record for me to find at first. I feel like this one just pops up a little more often. Revolver might be kind of a go-to recommendation for starting out. It's kind of like that bridge between old Beatles and new Beatles. maybe Rubber Soul as well. But for some reason, Sgt. Pepper just seems to be a little bit easier to find. Really nice copies, 20, 25. Decent copies going to be in that $15 range, so it's not going to break the bank. And even if you get lucky at thrift stores, this is where I got this copy way back when. But it's a really good starter one. Everybody likes the Beatles. It's just kind of a good go-to.
Matt, how many copies of Sgt. Pepper do you have now?
I think that may be only my second or third one that I've got as a keeper copy, with the inserts and stuff.
But is that I mean, that's your player though, right?
As a player, yeah.
Yeah. I have a first US press mono that's my player. It was $8.
Nice.
So that I've got all the new ones and stuff like that. They sound great. I like the new mix. My player is an $8 copy.
Yeah.
How about you, Dylan?
I got a MoFi copy of it.
Oh well.
I have a MoFi box set. So that's all of them. But anyways, I actually don't have it in my possession yet, but I'm in dealings. It's essentially mine.
Okay. All right. Well, after we record, there's some words I'm going to have with you about some stuff I want to see of yours, but.
Okay. Well, slide into my DMs. I've been saying.
That sounded dirty.
I don't know why. You said you want to see some of my things. Anyways. This is an Amboy Dukes, Journey to the Center of the Mind. This one was super easy for me to find. I don't even know what these go for, like $10. I don't know, bucks maybe. But this has got the Nuge on it. I mean, Ted Nugent, just smoking guitar player. He gets a bad rap because he's politically insane. I don't want to say that. Last time I made statements about Ted Nugent, I had so many people from both sides saying that I was either too liberal or too conservative, and I'm like, I like Ted Nugent.
Well, even if you support him, I think calling him insane is accurate.
He's nuts, but I love it. I think he's great. But he's a phenomenal guitar player. I'm not speaking of his politics. I have no affiliation with Ted Nugent. I've not been endorsed or he's not endorsed me. I haven't endorsed him. We have no relationship. But he's a great guitar player. That's all I'm going to say about him. So don't at me. But phenomenal guitar player. This album can be found for really cheap. And I think that just his antics overshadow his talent because he's just an incredible player. And after this, he obviously rose to fame as his own man and with his own name. But this is a great album. If you like guitar, it's not too hard and heavy psychedelic. It's pretty palatable for the beginning listener. But, if you want a record that everyone's going to like and it's not going to freak people out, that's one, but it's still psychedelic enough for you to take a trip.
For sure. It's got some crunch. Okay. For me, significantly less crunchy record here. One of the things that I think when you start collecting Psych, you do notice that some pop Psych is just more affordable. And this one is affordable all day long, man. Again, $5 to $14. If you're paying more than that for BG's first, you're doing it wrong, man. Unless you have to have pristine in the shrink copy or something, this will do you just fine, man. Absolutely love it on that nice little simple Atco label. But yeah, dude, I mean, to love somebody, there it is right there, man. That's it. You don't know what it's like, man. Love it.
You don't know what it is like.
Oh man, that's got my stamp of approval. And if I had been more prepared, we would have had a double there. So.
Well, this came out of a lack of preparation, but sure.
The theme here.
All right, I've got one.
As Eddie Dwyer says, I cannot stress how much we did not think. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So true, man. All right, I've got one more kind of heavy hitter, like Sgt. Pepper. Everybody knows that one. It's a heavy hitter. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. This is an essential in any record collection, let alone psychedelic. And I know it's progressive. It's progressive, but it gets trippy. It's deep. It's weird.
I don't think anyone was wearing a cape though.
It's not Rick Wakeman prog. This is good prog. This is again $15 to $20 for a super nice copy, an early copy. I think this one I paid like $8 or $10 for, and then have kind of Frankenstein some other copies that add inserts and posters and things like that. So you get a complete copy for 20 or less for sure. And everybody knows this. I'm not going to talk anymore about it, but it's a heavy hitter you got to have.
Yep.
You can watch it with the Wizard of Oz.
That's right.
You've got the MoFi of that too, don't you, Dylan?
Yeah, of course. And of course I have. I have a MoFi, I have a Japanese press, and I don't have the quadraphonic, but I'd like to get it because I'm working on a quadraphonic system for the shop. I think that would be dope. Anyways, when people ask me, what's a good, affordable Psych record that's just really good, strong, solid, you can get it for cheap, this is the one that always comes out of my mouth. Fever Tree. This one is a mint in the shrink, beautiful copy of Fever Tree. This is another $10 to $12 album. I remember the first time I heard this, I was just getting into Psych, and I was listening to some like YouTube playlists of psychedelic albums that were highly recommended, and this one came on here. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, how much is this going to set me back? And I looked up like what they were going for, and I was like, oh, I can get one for like $10. But this is just great, very well composed. You know, you got Rob Lands, whatever his name is, piano, organ, harp, flute, bass recorder, you know, harpsichord. So it's got that folky, psychedelic element to it, but it's also got some good guitar stuff, good organ stuff. But if this is a quintessential Psych that I think everyone should have. It's very enjoyable, and like I said before, palatable. So that was my pick for. Well, I've got 2 picks for cheap records, but that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, sticking with the theme of In the Shrink, this is probably one of the more expensive ones for me. But yeah, this record, I've never had trouble coming across this one. I think it's really easy too for somebody who's just getting into collecting. You don't really have to look up pressing numbers or anything like that. Just make sure it's on the cardboard type sleeve, and then feel, does it have the textured sleeve? And if it does, it's a first one, and you're all good with that. It might come from one of a couple pressing plants, but yeah, it's on the Phillips label there. And Vincebus Eruptum, man, it's you know, some people say the beginning of metal. It's just crunchy, fun, acid rock Psych. It's great, man. It's great.
It could be called Captain Crunch.
Yo, yeah.
That's one of my faves too.
It's good, man. Yeah, like you said, it's not too hard to track down. Yeah. All right, my next 3 that I've got are going to be ones that you could probably find in cheap bins. You know, like $3 and under easily. And in fact, this first one I've got here, I think every record collection we bought for the record store has had, if not this particular copy, but some Moody Blues record in it. Everybody has Moody Blues stuff. This is Days of Future Past with Nights in White Satin, of course, the big one. You can get just a pristine copy for $7 or $8. I mean, you know, like you want that mint copy. It's not going to break the bank. You want a playable copy, you can get one for $1 to $3. They're really easy to find. It's really good, pretty pop Psych. It's orchestrated. It's a little bit baroque. It's a little bit floaty. It's not going to be super deep, but it's going to be kind of one of those, you know, like the Psych professor's got the mood going right now with his lights dimmed, the T-shirts over the lamps. It's one of these records. That'll definitely set the mood if you know what I'm doing. And a good cheapie.
Oh, yeah. I can smell the incense now. My next pick is Cactus, self-titled. This is it's more on the blues rock side of things, if we're being honest. This isn't too deep and psychedelic, but man, when I was first getting into like things that are a little under the surface, Cactus, this popped up. A friend of mine suggested it to me, and this is a copy that I'll find copies of it and give it away because it's just so good. But it's just Parchment Farm is so good. Let's see what else. My Brother Bill. Oh my gosh, that song. But there's a lot of like blues standards on here, but it's just very strong guitar stuff, and it's a classic. So it's a little bit off the beaten path for most collectors that just are collecting classic rock. They've never heard of Cactus, but phenomenal band, great record. If you don't have this, what are you doing with your life?
All right, next up for me is one that is probably the best copies that you're going to find are going to run like $10. It's American Breed, Bend Me, Shape Me. if you grew up on oldies or classic rock radio, you probably know the title track too. But this is some garage with some nice pop sensibilities. So it really hits a lot of those like middle ground notes that you want when you're just getting into Psych. Like you don't quite know what your thing is yet. Well, the cover's a little bit trippy, but not really. Cool though, interracial band, awesome stuff with that. Obviously the title track, but the whole thing is a really good player, especially for like, wow, I can kind of like different moods of psychedelia. Again, you've got the pop sensibilities, but you've got the like lengthier instrumentations all within like the confines of good pop songwriting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any song on this one. Yeah, there's like 3 tracks that are longer than 3 minutes though, and like a couple of them are like half is the bridge.
Right.
So they didn't overdo it, man.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one that speaks to overdoing it. Iron Butterfly's Inagata Devita. 17 minutes, a full side track. This is another one. Like every record store in America has like 100 copies of this record. Pristine copy is going to be about $7-8. You know, I mean, it's not a hard album to find. It sold a ton of copies. In fact, I talk to people now that are like of the age when this would have been released, and they talk about this record like, oh man, Iron Butterfly, you know, everybody played that song at parties. You know, it's the one. It's deep. It really is a good entry level, like deep Psych record to get into. It's a little bit darker. It's a little bit more acidic. You know, it's got that kind of trippy guitar work going on. Overly long drum solo on Inagata Devita that is just it's too much. But no, this is a great record. And again, this is a really good, cheapy, good starter. You know, if you're wanting to dip your toes into the heavier stuff, this is a good one to get, because if you don't like it, you're out less than, you know, a soda at a ball game. So.
Yeah. It's a great barometer too of what type of record store you're at. If the copy of that you see first is marked at like more than $12, walk out. You're in an overpriced place.
Yep.
You are like it better be sealed.
Yeah, that's $3 to $5 all day. But so where do you guys land on drum solos? You pro or no? To be honest, just be honest. Tell me.
I'm 100% pro. I'm as a recovering drumaholic myself.
Okay, you're a drummer. That's why you like them.
Yeah.
No. I've sat behind a drum set.
I don't think anyone likes drums. I was gonna say drum circles, drum solos other than drummers. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I don't know. You're not loving disc 2 of Wheels of Fire and the backside of Led Zeppelin 2? Yeah, I skip Moby Dick. I know everyone says blasphemy. I skip it. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. The Cream one for me, it's just like it's the same. And I used to be a drummer. Well, I sat behind a drum set as well. But it's just like I feel like it's the same thing for 2 minutes. And it's like, dude, this isn't a solo. You're just it's skipping. You know, like it's just
You're not getting in the groove, man.
Sorry. So it's a hot topic. I hate to even ask. But so that was yours. My next one is one of the more expensive ones. Should have not picked this one. But when I was early on in collecting, I was hot after this one. Gun.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Oh, moly. This record's just so good. It's early hard rock. It's melt your face off. It makes you just want to go get in a fight. It's just so good. Great guitar solos. Race with the Devil is just absolute classic. But yeah, this is an album that you just need to go out and find. If you're into that early 70s, hard and heavy, acid-soaked hard rock, you got to have this album. It's essential. Even though, you know, it may cost you $25 to $30, about what it goes for. It's worth it. It's worth it. You know, sell 10 of your Inagata Devitas and go get this.
Okay. All right. This next one is one I first got as some VCLT from our buddy Bo, but I did upgrade. I think the copy that he gave me was like $5, and I think I paid like $7 for this of the Hombres let it out, let it all hang out. Show this record a ton. I love this record, man. It's like trash can rock. Like if you think of like what is it, like Surfing Bird and stuff like that, very much in that vein, dude. But yeah, it's just really, really it's not that weird, but it's just like, oh, it's weird that someone thought this would be commercial. And it's great. Like it's held its like fun, weird rock vibiness, feels counterculture-y even now. So I like that aspect of it. Again, super garagey, super lo-fi, and a fun little shtick to go along with it. So Hombres, let it all hang out, man. $8.
Next up for me is a little bit more of that kind of crunchy rock kind of sound. It's Steppenwolf, their first album, and if you'll notice here, this is a mono copy. Got this in a dollar bin when I first started collecting. It was like I knew Born to Be Wild, and it was like, oh, Steppenwolf, that's cool. Man, they're kind of like the Guess Who for me. I think they get massively underrated, and they don't get talked about enough. Not just in the VC, but just in rock circles in general. Like, it's just really well done, in your face rock and roll at a time when that was not yet the thing. Like, it was not until like the early 70s like that really took off as a sound, and these guys were doing it a little bit early. And another one to find from Steppenwolf is the early Steppenwolf album. Is a Sparrow. Man, it's a live recording, but it's deep and it's good, and it's another cheap one. Again, under 10, and you're going to get a really nice copy. Steppenwolf, the mono, these go for a little bit more because it was a little bit tougher to find mono in 67 or 68. But stereo copies of this are going to run you $10 or less, and it's well worth picking up.
Agreed. I was going to say the same thing about the early one. That one's so good.
Yep. $5 bin all day for early Steppenwolf.
I've got some alternates here, and I'm trying to anticipate what you guys are going to pick. So I don't. Have I overlapped any of y'all's yet?
No.
Okay. Oh. This one I don't think you guys are going to do. But this is Freedom Through the Years. Excellent album. This one, you can go expensive with it and get the Vertigo press, which is impossible to find and way, way, way too expensive. But there's a U.S. press on, is it Dunhill or Atco? I can't remember. Melliel is going to go grab it.
Yeah, he's going to go grab it.
I'm trying to remember. I know the label is red.
You put us to shame here, man, with this, like,
I'm sorry,
Cotillion
thing.
Cotillion.
Oh, yeah, Cotillion.
Oh, okay.
I've just been living in Vertigo land so long I forgot. But there you go. I used to have the promo, but you can get those for the Cotillion ones for like $20, But that's some great heavy early 70s hard rock. But that's one that the first time I found it, I was like, oh man, look at this cover. This is like Black Sabbath looking.
Yeah.
And I found it, and I thought I'd found a treasure, which I had. It was great. The music is really great. Another side note: if you're an early collector and you ever see that label, get it. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a couple cheap ones, but most of the Vertigo stuff's really tough to find. And I collect Vertigo stuff, but this one, this is a German pressing. But the U.S. pressings are, like I said, $20 all day long, and it's just a really great, well done early hard rock / psych record.
So for years, I said like I got into record collecting through Jimi Hendrix. I seriously just grabbed a Hendrix record, but it happened to be this one, which is the Live at Monterey Pop split with Otis Redding, which is a great, fun record, like two legendary performances. But I think one of the things, like, we talk all the time on our show about the artists that like keep record stores going, and Jimi Hendrix, like, you're gonna pay an upcharge a lot of the time just because it's a Jimi Hendrix record, even if it's not in good shape. But if you're getting the ones that aren't Jimi Hendrix Experience records, they're actually usually pretty affordable. And so while those are great, and I think they're eventual like must-haves, if you come across a Hendrix that's on the Reprise label but isn't one of those and you're just getting into it, this is probably like max $15 record. Probably not that, though. And it's great music. It's live performances, but you got to have some Hendrix, man. If you're getting into psych, you got to have some Hendrix. And I get to right for my boy Otis Redding there too. So all about it.
Fat. Okay, so new podcast to check out if you haven't, with Chuck Klosterman, and I think his name is Chris Ryan, called Music Exists. Really, really good podcast. They did an episode on live albums and live music in general. Just wanted to throw that out there. Mine is a Hendrix-related pick next, though, as well. I was going to pick a Hendrix record, but I was like, that's too obvious. So I'll leave that to the Psych professor to show. Fat Mattress, Noel Redding, was in the Hendrix Experience. This was his kind of project after the Hendrix Experience. It's just a really easy one to find again. I feel like you see the second one a little more often with like the weird cover with like the fat dude on the front, like kind of the weird drawing. But this is good in its own right too. Just kind of pop psych, kind of British flavored, of course, with Noel. I don't have. It's been a while since I've listened to this one, so I can't speak to individual songs right offhand. But this is a really good one that you'll find, $8 to $10 pretty easily at record stores and record shows. So well worth picking up.
Yes, agreed. Oh man. So here's one. I don't think either one of you are gonna pick this one. Here's one. This is a cheap one. There's another one. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh boy, what's this gonna set me back? This is a $5 record. Frost Music, The Frost. I don't know if you guys have this record. Let me take it out.
I don't either.
That is a really good record. And like I said, they're cheap. I got this copy for $1 at a record store. So it wasn't even like a lucky pick. It's just how much it cost. But just a really good, solid Psych album. For me, I don't really like poppy stuff as much. I'm all about the crunch. I'm all about the more deep stuff. This has got some prog influence on it, but it definitely is just some killer Psych, some great, like this. I've got a bit of a pattern of really good organ stuff and guitar work, and this one's just, the songs are fun, they're enjoyable, it's palatable, but at the same time, you'll think you'll be listening to an expensive record, but it's not. So you can trick your friends. But it's Frost Music by The Frost, and it is, I don't know, late 60s, probably 69ish. So check it out.
All right. Well, I know you said you don't like poppy, and generally I have to mix in my Baroque pop Psych with the crunchier stuff too. I always talk about this one though as like, this is the ultimate starter record. If you pay more than $2 for the Association's greatest, because again, like I grew up listening to oldies radio. That's how I got into Psych. Like it was a foray, but Association, man, Wendy, Cherish, Never My Love, Along Comes Mary, like this and the Love and Spoonful greatest hits, I haven't gotten rid of them. That's all I'm saying. I haven't gotten rid of them. Like they're not something I spin like all the time, but they're great songs and they're a great way to get into record collecting. Again, super cheap. Like a clean copy of this is a $5 bill. Like mint.
I throw them in the dollar bin every day.
Yep.
Like,
absolutely. Yeah, that's where they go. That's where they should be.
But
you gotta have one.
They are good. They're good records, and that's why I love you guys' perspective, because I feel like I show the same crap all the time. It's guitar player stuff. But I do like the pop stuff, but I'm not ever going to show it because it's not something that really gets me going. But you guys, the pop Psych, I know you guys and Bo Grumpus, they're, he knows all about that stuff a little bit more than I do. So I encourage it for sure.
Yeah. Herman's Hermits is another good greatest hits to pick up.
Yes.
$1, all day long. My dad had a cassette tape of that. We wore it out on road trips, man. Next up for me, you got to have some Byrds in your collection. I love the Notorious Byrd Brothers. That's my favorite Byrds album. But this, you can't go wrong with the starter with the Byrds, The Fifth Dimension. 1966, so an early foray into psychedelia. 8 Miles High and the opening track, title track, Fifth Dimension. But Captain Soul is really good. The lyric that closes the album, 242 Foxtrot. Just all really, really heavy hitter, good, jangly psychedelic music. They kind of stuck to their folk roots with this, and kind of is a vein that runs throughout their whole catalog, especially on Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Even Notorious Byrd Brothers has some of that country twang on it. This is just a really really fantastic and a really fun record. This is one that I remember finding early on and just being in love with the cover. It's that psychedelic kind of paisley birds design there, and they're on it's a magic carpet, man. They're feeling it. They're feeling it on this. And then the back, you've got live pictures. Got a really bad glare going, but it's just I don't know, something about this record. I fell in love with this the first time I heard it, and dove deep into their catalog after that. It's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll show this one. I've got 2 extras, so I'm trying to decide what I want to show. This one is one that you shouldn't hold out for an original because you may never find one. I'm wanting an original, but I had to go ahead and grab a reissue. Gandalf. It's an amazing record. It's got some pops.
I was gonna say, yeah.
For sure it does. It's this what I would consider on the poppy side, but it still is just a great deep psych. It's just a favorite. It's an absolute classic. I can't imagine you putting this on and not just falling in love with it. Very melodic, very good stuff. But the original is going to run you $300 to $400. You can get a reissue for $20, and it's well worth it. This will be one of your favorite records. But it's Gandalf, 1969. I believe it might be 68. Don't hate me. But yeah, fantastic record. This is one of the most stone cold classics that you don't get here talked about too much. So Gandalf, just the cover. This is a record you can judge by the cover. Look at it. It's so good.
I'm getting hypnotized, man. Yeah, I think that's still number 1 on Mellow Yellow's Grail list as an original Gandalf.
Do you have one, Sam?
No, I have the reissue.
Okay. I know you have Power Plan, which is like a
Power Plant. Yeah.
Oh, Power Plant. Yeah, that one's up there for me too. That's a great one.
Very fortunate find for me. All right. Nothing too outside of the box here, but I feel like you gotta have Jefferson Airplane. I feel like this is the starter record. If you get this or After Bathing at Baxter's, they're both totally worth your time. This is the one that has the tracks you've heard on it. Obviously, Somebody to Love is on this. White Rabbit. She Has Funny Cars. The Grace Slick contributions are the better songwriting on this. But all around, it is kind of a transition album between where Jefferson Airplane was as a little bit more of that early San Francisco folk psych sound to before they became more of the playing like acid balls and stuff like that, like you get on Baxter's. So yeah, definitely, probably their most commercially successful album here, but totally worth your time. And I'm trying to remember. I think my copy here. Let me look here. Yeah, I have a stereo copy that came in a mono sleeve, and a bunch of people have told me that they have that same thing going on. So I don't know if just everybody went to parties and accidentally Frankenstein these when they were in the 60s, because they were altered or whatever. But I think honestly it was probably RCA was it doesn't even matter. We printed too many covers of the wrong kind. Just put them in there. Because I don't think people cared.
Probably. I'll tell you, I had someone back when I was doing pop-ups, and they were like, I bought this copy of Jefferson Airplane, Crown of Creation from you. And there's that I got it home and I listened to it, and I flipped it over and listened to it, and both sides are side 2. They're both pressed side 2. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, I don't want to return it because it might be worth money. And I've heard a couple people say that there was some sort of wacky stuff going on. So that has nothing to do with that record, but that's a great record. I almost picked that one myself.
We got to talk misprints at some point too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, another just staple of the genre, Donovan. Again, going to be a little more on the folk side, a little more on the pop side, depending on which Donovan you go with. On Sunshine Superman, you're getting a little more into the pop psych with The Trip, Season of the Witch, Sunshine Superman. But then you have stuff like the Three Kingfishers and the Fat Angel, which are very much in that folk vein that he was known for earlier in his career. Donovan, just a pretty gentleman there. Definitely a sex symbol of the 60s. Just kind of oozes charisma on everything he does. Whoa. But no, it's fantastic stuff. Any Donovan, like Mellow Yellow, Sunshine Superman, the box set with Flower from a Gift to whatever it's called. All of those are just
from
fantastic.
a flower to a garden.
That's it. Yeah, they're all.
It
fantastic.
sounds like a euphemism for the sex talk.
We should do a video about records that could be euphemisms. there would be a lot. So yeah, that's a great one too. That was an early find for me as well. So how many were here? Trying to decide. I'm not going to show my Beatles record, but spoiler, it was the White Album. Okay, moving on. This one was one of my, like, when I first started, I was like, I've got to find this. This is the Psych album. If I could just find this, I would die happy. And then I found it, and then I needed something else. But this is Electric Prunes Underground. This is one of my absolute favorites. This one's a $20 record, probably, something like that. This one's in the shrink. It's a shrinky, nice copy. I have suspicions that it was re-shrinked, but whatever. This is a nice, tricolor first pressing, but this is just essential. Great Psych. The Electric Prunes, I don't really think you can go wrong with them unless they're out great, but this is absolutely my favorite. It's just every second of it from start to finish is just incredible Psych stuff. Like I said before, this one's, it's not going to scare your mom too much if you put it on. Your wife might even listen to it till the end, but this is just a really great, well put together Psych record that I think is absolutely essential.
I don't know that my wife has ever listened to an album to the end, like ever.
Well,
all right, I won't skip out on my Beatles pick. It is Rubber Soul. One thing I want early collectors to be really conscious of is that everything before Sgt. Pepper, there was a US version and a UK version. And so that's why, there's a ton of stuff out there with the Beatles that is cheap. It's a Beatles record, so it's good music on there, but the Beatles are another one of those groups that, they keep record stores in business. So you are going to overpay a little bit for it. But I think I want to say this is probably a 70s repress on Parlophone, meaning, of course, it is a UK copy, so it has the full UK track listing. I've never picked up an American Rubber Soul. And I've heard people say that they kind of prefer that track listing, but for me, it's all about the transition from Drive My Car to Norwegian Wood. In that 3 seconds between those songs, the Beatles become the Beatles.
Wow.
It's not the song, it's the transition.
There's your nugget, folks. There it is.
But don't call him the professor for nothing.
Right. All right, I've got a little bit of a left field pick here. This is the Butterfield Blues Band. Again, another 1966 album. So early. Okay. We're getting a little bit early with it. For the most part, blues rock. And really, really good blues rock with Elvin Bishop on guitar, just killing it, straight killing it. And then the organ and piano on here is phenomenal. And you do get a long jam on here. You get Work Song on the end of side 1. It's 8 minutes.
Guitar players,
man. And then the title track is 13 minutes long. And the title track is where you're seeing where psychedelia is starting to take off. It's the blues rock is kind of on the way out. The jam freak out stuff is on the way in, and even Paul Butterfield is dipping his toes into it. Just great records all around. If you find any Butterfield blues records, they're top notch and they're cheap. They're all going to be $10 or under for nice copies. This is a good mono copy. I prefer this in mono. I've had a stereo copy as well, but I've kept my mono. The mix is just a little bit more punchy. That 1966, the stereo I think is a fold down kind of fake stereo, where this is just kind of the real deal mono. Just another one. I think this one used to get talked about a lot more, and I haven't seen anybody mention it in a while, so I wanted to I'm gonna throw this one back out there and get it into the vibe, out into the world.
So I have one, and I'm gonna show it. Well, here's the first one. There's one left. We all did 10. I think I'm gonna throw this one out, but this is a really good one. Rare bird, great stuff. Are you one of you guys gonna show this?
Oh no, you should though. Show that. Yes.
This one. I'm glad that I thought that maybe Psych Professor here might show up, but this crazy world of Arthur Brown.
It's big.
Yeah, when I first started collecting, I went into a record store and this was on the wall for $50, and I was like, oh man, I wish I could find that, and then I realized that was freaking nuts. It was a $8 to $10 record, but this is just really good. Deep Psych. It's really out there, but not too out there. You can get one, like I said, $8 to $10. But if you want to dip your toe into something a little bit more crazy, Arthur Brown's World is crazy. I mean, even he says it himself. That's the name of the album, guys. But he's really getting it on this album. There's some shouting and screaming and just crazy stuff going on. But I really like this record. When you want to let your freak flag fly, grab a copy of this for $8. Go home, throw it on, turn on, tune in, drop out, get down.
I am the god of hellfire.
I love that the cover looks like a 90s like techno or house album.
Yeah.
It looks like,
weird.
Do you guys remember the episode of Doug where like Doug's dad had been like in a like funk psych band?
No.
Oh man, like it kind of looks like that. Like had to have been some direct or indirect inspiration to the artists and writers of Doug, the great cartoon series. All right. So it wouldn't be authentic, genuine, vintage Psych if you didn't get a little political. And you got to get political with some David Peel and the Lower East Side. This is their second album, The American Revolution. I think it's their best work. Only 7 tracks, but legalize marijuana, oink oink, I want to get high, I want to kill you, and hey, Mr. Draftboard are all smoking fun classics. This is one of those real authentic pieces of like counterculture trying to be pushed into the mainstream by Elektra Records. So I love this record. Proto-punk, lots of fun. I'm all about it, man. This is a big record for me. So $15 all day.
All right, this next one is specifically for the Psych Professor. I know his feelings regarding this band. Quicksilver Messenger Service.
Overrated.
It just blows my mind that you don't click with the Quicksilver band.
It is the most like bland, nebulous, like, oh, psychedelic music is playing to me.
Trails? You don't even like Happy Trails?
That's the one where I'm like, even this feels like, ooh, it's this band who like they kind of want to be country and kind of want to be rock, and their solos are a little bit long. Like, I'm serious. Let's face it. It's appreciation of music like this that led to the popularity of the Eagles.
I agree. I've never had anybody tell me a legit reason why the Eagles are bad. I'm just throwing that out there.
We don't have.
It's just fantastic.
I don't hate the Eagles. They are just probably the most overrated artists of all time.
I don't know. I feel like they're largely disliked by rock snobs, and they're just popular among the masses. So I feel like they're rated.
Well, I mean, a whole bunch of people liked A Star Is Born too,
That's true. Shots fired, folks. All right, but no, Dylan was talking about guitar.
I'm totally coming for you.
Dylan was talking about guitar-driven psych rock. Quicksilver Messenger Service's guitar-driven psych rock. Just really good stuff. John Cipollina, just a master of the craft of his instrument. And this used to be an easier one to find. I don't see this one around as much anymore. Happy Trails is a little bit easier to track down now, but neither one's going to break the bank. You can get good copies of this for 10 to 15. Happy Trails 10 to 12, kind of in that range. And I think they're essential if you're a Psych guy. So.
Agreed.
It's okay.
Well, the debate's fun, even if you're wrong. It's fine. But thank you guys for coming on. And
man, sure.
I'm just honored to be amongst just the royalty of the VC.
No, please.
No.
This is not even. We're not even being like falsely humble here. Like this is like.
No.
Well, anyways, I'm really looking forward to your best finds of 2019 that we're probably going to see sometime next year.
Yeah.
I'm really stoked on that. Cannot wait. I'm not trying to bust your balls, but you got to get it together, guys. Your fans need you. You have a fan base that needs you. So.
Okay, well, to our fan base, a sincere apology, and absence hard to go fonder.
You strive for excellence, and your videos are very well put together. Mine, I just start rolling and do the thing, but you guys, it's very well quality stuff. So I appreciate that for sure. But had a blast with you guys. I'm gonna hang up, but we're gonna still keep talking. So everyone say goodbye.
All right, goodbye, everybody. We want to talk records for real now. So y'all sign off.
We'll put the kids to bed and have some adult conversation.
I'm gonna take my pants off now. Let's do this.
Oh boy. Yeah, the repartee in the text conversation got a little past the PG-13 marker there earlier.
This is the first day I've put pants on in a little bit, so
dude,
I'm off.